With that, United States Senator Mitch McConnell.
Well, thank you very much, Richie, and also let me thank you for your service in the General Assembly for a number of years. It's good to see local officials here, and great to be back in Allen County, who, as Al Pettigo pointed out, you have some of the greatest farmland and some of the greatest farmers in our state. We appreciate what you do here. Food couldn't have been better. I'm pleased today to be with my colleague, Rand Paul, and we're going to give you a duet. two for the price of one. It's also wonderful to be back here at this wonderful facility, and it's the inspirational work that it does for families who have big problems. And I thank those who dreamed of this and those who run it. It's an extraordinary thing, and America is better off as a result of it. We have a lot of very significant challenges in our country these days. We have added more to the national debt in the last 4.5 years than all the presidents from George Washington down to George Bush. We've been on a spending binge of gargantuan proportions. I worry for the first time in my life that we're going to be able to leave behind a better America than our parents left behind for us. That has been the American dream going back to the founding of our country. Every generation has felt that it had an obligation to leave behind a better America for the next generation. None of this is beyond fixing, but I must say that we've had an explosion of government, particularly in the first 2 years of the current president's administration. The $1 trillion stimulus, take over American health care, Dodd-Frank, sort of Obamacare for the financial services industry, and the nationalization of the student loan program, 150,000 new bureaucrats descending across America with the view that if you're making a profit, you're up to no good. And they're here to help you. You know, you must be obviously treating your customers or mistreating your employees. Now look, these are pretty tough words about the last 4.5 years, but I think we know what the results are. This is the slowest recovery after a deep recession since World War II. Typically, the pattern has been the deeper the recession, the quicker the bounce back, until this one. So what we've seen here is an experiment over the last 4.5 years in borrowing and spending and regulating and growing the government. And if that would produce a vibrant economy, we'd be in the middle of the boom, because we've never done more of that. Our country has never done more of that than we've done in the last 4.5 years. If that were not bad enough, we've got the war on coal. Now you're probably thinking, there's any coal in Allen County, why should I care about it? You should care about it for the following reasons. A war on coal is actually a war on Kentucky. Not only has it produced a depression in central Appalachia, a significant portion of which is eastern Kentucky, it threatens one of our great competitive advantages. We've had two big advantages. One is our location, within 500 miles of 2/3 of the population of the United States. The second great advantage we've had is always being either the lowest utility rates in the country or darn near close to the lowest utility rates in the country. Why do you think we've landed the industry we have? A combination of location and low utility rates. So this administration has been very bad for business all across America, and particularly bad for business right here in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Of course, in our country, the voters get to decide which direction to take. And there's always another election and always another opportunity to go in a different direction. I didn't come here today, and I don't think Senator Paul did, to make an overly political speech, but it is a fact that in our state next year you'll get to decide whether you want the Senate to be led by Kentucky or by somebody from Nevada who has said, quote, cold makes you sick, end quote. So we'll have an opportunity to help determine the future of not only Kentucky but America in the next year and a half. I've been fortunate enough to have had several different colleagues in the Senate during my time there. I've never been fortunate enough to serve with somebody who's brighter and got more of a future than the new senator from Kentucky. He has, in record time, become not only a force within the Senate, but a national figure that we certainly deserve to be proud of. I don't know what office he'll run for next, and he probably won't tell you what office he'll run for next. But it's been a meteoric rise, begun right here in our state by a guy who practiced medicine very skillfully here for 20 years and then decided to take a shot at something he was always interested in, but hadn't directly participated in before. And so I'm pleased today to present to you his junior senator, Kentucky, Senator Rand Paul.
Now, you noticed he emphasized that junior. But actually, Senator McConnell and I get along very well, and I think we complement each other in many ways, and it is great having a leader from Kentucky in the U.S. Senate. The interesting thing about being a leader is he is able to work with all within the Republican caucus and brings together a lot of important things. So I think we are very lucky, and hopefully we'll continue to be lucky to have Senator McConnell leading us from Kentucky. Now, it's good to come in because I recognize some faces and some people who used to be patients of mine, and you can still come to me. It's even better now. You don't have to pay me. I'm not allowed to receive money, so I still do a little bit of surgery, pro bono surgery, or surgery for charity. I'll be doing some tomorrow in Paducah. We've done some in Glasgow and some back in Bowling Green. So people coming up all the time, they say, oh, that's fine, I'll come for free. And it's like, well, no, it's for people who need, who don't have insurance. But I've enjoyed being in the Senate, trying to affect change. I went because I was worried about our country. I truly am worried and still am about the future of our country. The burden of debt is an enormous one. We're basically having to pay $30,000 every second just to maintain this debt. Our debt, as Senator McConnell said, is as big as our economy. This is an enormous burden. Some people say it's costing 1 million jobs a year. I was up in New York a couple of days ago, and we came right up in front of the Federal Reserve. Traffic jam, police everywhere. We're like, what happened? And they said, oh, the Federal Reserve has been robbed. And I said, really? And they said, yeah, but the thieves didn't get away. They were standing in front of the big safe, and they were perplexed. They were flummoxed. They didn't know what to do with minus $17 trillion. I stole that from Jimmy Kimmel. I offer my kids $10 if they'll give me a good joke. But so far, I've used that about 1 million times. I need to get my kids working again for me. My middle son, Duncan, and my youngest son, Robert, go to Bowling Green High School. And so Duncan sent me one the other day, because kids get all of their news from YouTube. It's got to be played on the Comedy Channel first, and then it's got to be on a YouTube when friends shows. So he sent me one the other day, and it was Jimmy Kimmel, Man on the Street. So Jimmy Kimmel's out on the street, and he's like, ma'am, did you hear that the president has pardoned the sequester and sent it to Portugal? And we're like, yeah? Well, the president wouldn't do it. If he's such a good man, he wouldn't do it. They probably deserve it in Portugal. So I had no idea what a sequester was. So he comes up to another woman, and he says, you've heard that North Korea, the next one's a man, by the way, it's all women are men. The next one's a man, comes up to this man on the street, and he said, you've heard North Korea is rattling their sabers and threatening to launch missile strikes. The president has sent them to sequester. And then the man's like, damn right, they deserve it. Some of them may not even know what the sequester is, but it is trying to restrain the growth of government. Some people think it's dramatic and everybody's homeless now and chaos is going to happen, the sky's going to fall. Courier Journal, you've heard of the Courier Journal. They've got in the newspaper this morning, all these people no longer want a Head Start. Well, you read the whole article and it's not even true from their headline. People are still going to Head Start. The president says the sky is falling. How can we survive? He says the planes are going to crash into each other. We're going to have to you noticed he emphasized that junior. But actually, Senator McConnell and I get along very well, and I think we complement each other in many ways. And it is great having a leader from Kentucky in the U.S. Senate. The interesting thing about being a leader is he is able to work with all within the Republican caucus and brings together on a lot of important things. So I think we are very lucky, and hopefully we'll continue to be lucky to have Senator McConnell leading us from Kentucky. Now, it's good to come in because I recognize some faces and some people who used to be patients of mine, and you can still come to me. It's even better now. You don't have to pay me. I'm not allowed to receive money, so I still do a little bit of surgery, pro bono surgery, or surgery for charity. I'll be doing some tomorrow in Paducah. We've done some in Glasgow and some back in Bowling Green. So people coming up all the time, they say, "Oh, that's fine. I'll come for free." And it's like, well, no, it's for people who need, who don't have insurance. But I've enjoyed being in the Senate, trying to affect change. I went because I was worried about our country. I truly am worried and still am about the future of our country. The burden of debt is an enormous one. We're basically having to pay $30,000 every second just to maintain this debt. Our debt, as Senator McConnell said, is as big as our economy. This is an enormous burden. Some people say it's costing 1 million jobs a year. I was up in New York a couple of days ago and we came right up in front of the Federal Reserve. Traffic jam, police everywhere. We're like, what happened? And they said, oh, the Federal Reserve has been robbed. And I said, really? And they said, yeah, but the thieves didn't get away. They were standing in front of the big safe and they were perplexed. They were flummoxed. They didn't know what to do with minus $17 trillion. I stole that from Jimmy Kimmel. I offer my kids $10 if they'll give me a good joke. So far, I've used that about 1 million times. I need to get my kids working again for me. My middle son, Duncan, and my youngest son, Robert, go to Bowling Green High School. And so Duncan sent me one the other day, because kids get all of their news from YouTube. It's got to be played on the comedy channel first, and then it's got to be on YouTube, the Morning Friendships. So he sent me one the other day, and it was Jimmy Kimmel, Man on the Street. So Jimmy Kimmel's out on the street, and he's like, ma'am, did you hear that the president has pardoned the sequester and sent it to Portugal? And we're like, yeah? Well, the president wouldn't do it. He's such a good man, he wouldn't do it. They probably deserve it in Portugal. So I had no idea what a sequester was. So he comes up to another woman, and he says, you've heard that North Korea, the next one's a man, we don't make this all women or men. The next one's a man, comes up to this man on the street, and he said, you've heard North Korea is rattling their sabers and threatening to launch missile strikes. The president has sent them to sequester. And then the man's like, yeah, I'm right, they deserve it. Some people may not even know what the sequester is, but it is trying to restrain the growth of government. Some people think it's dramatic and everybody's homeless now and chaos is going to happen, the sky's going to fall. Courier Journal, you've heard of the Courier Journal. They've got in the newspaper this morning, all these people no longer want a Head Start. Well, you read the whole article and it's not even true from their headline. People are still going to Head Start. The president says the sky is falling. How can we survive? He says the planes are going to crash into each other. We're going to have to wear traffic controllers. Your meat's going to be rancid. There'll be no more meat inspectors. It was all a charade. It was untrue. He told you all this stuff because he wanted to scare you into continuing the status quo. The problem is the status quo is bankrupting us. We can't pay for it. Your kids can't find a job because of the burden of a $17 trillion debt. But he wanted to scare you. But then it didn't happen. And besides, you're scratching your head saying, gosh, the first people we're going to lay off are the air traffic controllers? Doesn't make any sense. Then he closed the White House. No more self-guided tours to the White House. That saved $18,000. Well, that was a good choice, Mr. President. The same day he announced that, he announced that he was sending an extra $250 million to Egypt. He just found it lying around in a closet. Let's send him some more money. Good money after bad. The president has this problem of not obeying the law. He's not supposed to be above the law. Senator McConnell and I and all the senators up there, we sued him in court over appointing people during recess. We said we weren't in recess. Mr. President, we're here. We're working. He says, oh no, you're in recess. I'm going to make a recess appointment. The courts rebuked him. 3 different courts have said what he did was unconstitutional. On Obamacare, he's now amending Obamacare after the fact. That's unconstitutional. The Congress has to write the laws. The Congress has to change the laws. He can't just do it at his own will. This is really what we have is this problem, the president sort of acting on his own. Now we have a coup in Egypt. And you know what he says about the coup in Egypt? You're not supposed to get any more military aid. We've passed that law for 25 years. Every year we pass the same law. It says if there's a military coup, because we don't want to support the military taking over from a democratic government, no more aid goes. You know what he says about it? He says, yeah, it's probably a coup, but you can't make me say it. Sounds like a third grader? That's what he's saying. He is saying his State Department spokesman had this long-running debate with the media. Well, we're just not going to say you can't make us determine whether it's a coup or not. My question to him is, we've got problems here at home. There's 50,000 dogs roaming Detroit. There's abandoned houses everywhere. You go to eastern Kentucky, it's a depression. We've got problems here at home. What are you going to do about the problems we have here at home? What does he do? Just continue to send the money. Good money after bad. $1.5 billion. Well, you wonder, people tell you we have to do it because that's how we get the friendship of the Egyptian people. Well, do you think they're inclined to be more friendly to us when they're looking at a tank? An American tank that stares them down, not commanded by an American, but commanded by an Egyptian. When they're looking at an American tank, there's a picture on the internet from 2 days ago of a guy holding his arms up like this, just unarmed to stop the tank. The next frame he's shot. Do you think they're inclined to like us more? And do you think they're going to eat the tank? They're having trouble with food over there, and we're sending them more tanks. It's absurd. But even above and beyond whether it's a good idea to have this aid or not, the real question is, it's just illegal. Why would we do something that's illegal? So we have problems here at home that we need to take care of. The president himself said it. He said we need to do some nation building at home, but he won't do it. I've offered a couple of bills to try to figure out how we'd have more money at home. Corporations that earn money overseas want to bring it home. Apple Computer has $100 billion overseas. They'd like to bring the vast majority of it home. We tell them they can't bring it home unless they bring it home at 35%. So I have a bill that says you can bring it home at 5%. We did this one time before, and it brought $40 billion in taxes in. And we could do it again. I would put it into infrastructure. Right now, roads and bridges, whether you're a Republican or Democrat, most of us want them repaired or replaced or improved. But we can't do it because the gas tax brings in $30 billion, and we're spending $40 billion. So how do you get more money? This is a great source of it. Bring that foreign money home, tax it at a low rate. It's not coming home at all. Zero comes home right now. There are ways we could do it. I think some of the money we sent to Egypt ought to be spent here at home. Some of the money spent building roads in Pakistan ought to be here at home, building things at home. There are all kinds of things we could do. We could fix this great country again, but it's going to take getting away from just the rut of the status quo. When I think of Cal Turner Sr., who's a patient of mine, I think of just great philanthropy. Think of all the things the Turner family's done, including this, but all around Scottsville, all around Allen County. Think of what the Turner family did. But it's not only the philanthropy. Think of all the years the business was here, all the thousands of jobs. So it's not just the philanthropy after the money has been earned, it's all the jobs that were created as we went through. We are the most generous country on earth. We're the richest country on earth and the most generous. We give away $300 billion a year in private charity. When there's an earthquake in Haiti, we're the leader giving money. When there was a South Pacific tsunami, we were the leader giving money. If we want to be that richest country that can be the most humanitarian country, we've got to believe in what we stood for, what our founding documents stood for. We have to believe in what made America great. It's not coveting your neighbor's property because they have 3 cars and you've got a moped. It's believing that we grow the economy and everybody gets richer by growing the economy. That means leaving more money here at home and sending less money to Washington. I'm happy I could try to be a small part of that, and I will continue as long as you'll have me. Thank you.
I was wondering if their charter is up for this year.
Yeah, I've never seen a debate over that, to tell you the truth, over whether, and I doubt there will be much consistent. Hey, the thing we're still pushing, is an audit of the Fed, and I'll try to get that a vote. And even that, Harry Reid keeps denying me a vote on it, even though he said he used to be for the Fed.
I just always wondered because isn't that power for Congress and the Constitution?
Exactly, and I've never seen a debate on it, and see if that actually comes up for a vote. I've never voted on it since I've been in Congress, so I don't know if it comes up every 5 years or you know how long it comes up. This is 100 years.
Yeah, this is 100 years.
1913.
But I haven't heard anybody talk about it yet. I've seen it online.
Senator, appreciate the filibuster.
Thank you.
We enjoyed that.
Thanks for coming.
Thank
Good to see you again.
You too, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming down.